Hey guys. All right. The person sitting next to me, this is my husband, Eric. A lot of you may be new to the channel, so wanted to give him a quick introduction. Eric was the Florida Gator punter from 2003 to 2006, punted on the '06 national championship team, was an All-American, All-SEC, punted in the NFL, the CFL, hence the passion I have on this channel for special teams. It comes from this guy. Not going to beleaguer this point or try to keep going back to this loss against Georgia, but Saturday during the game, when this special teams blunder happened, that blocked punt, we paused the game in our house, and Eric broke down why this play was doomed from the start, what went wrong in it, why the block happened, and I think that it's important for you guys to see it. The play speaks to a larger issue than just one play. We're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. So I'm going to have him break down this film, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit after that. All right. Tell me where we went wrong.
So anytime there's a blocked punt, typically when I rewind it, I will go and clock the punter. I'll clock the total get off time, and then I'll clock the catch to kick get off time for the punter, and kind of see, if there was a delay, if something happened there, if, the snap was too slow, the punter was too slow getting the ball off. The operation time, the get off time on this punt was actually pretty good. So that was not the issue here. So once I see that the get off time is not the issue, then I'll start looking deeper into what's going on. So when I paused it for us, you could see as I was going through it, there were more things that came to light than the initial issue of why this punt got blocked. There is one main thing that happened that if that one thing didn't happen, then he would have gotten the punt off. But then looking down the line in a couple other areas, this is kind of a general overview of our punt team and how it's working, and how it actually should be working. So I'll dive into it real quick. I know on special teams, we've been having some issues counting to 11. This time it was counting to 2. So we couldn't count to 2, and we missed a block because of that. And that's why this punt ended up getting blocked. So if we look here, if we start the play, yes, we have 11 men on the field. So that's a plus. We get lined up. Everything's looking pretty good. I'll get into our alignment and kind of what we're doing at the ball and before the ball is snapped here in a minute. We go into this crossfield motion, and that right there is going to tell you that this is going to be a punt to the left side of the field. If we put both of our gunners over to the left, we're punting the ball to the left. That's the goal. That's the only reason you're bringing both gunners over to that side, is to get more coverage down on that side of the field. So that's fine. That's not an issue. The man follows the gunner all the way across. You can see when the ball is snapped that the guy following is, 4 yards off the ball. So he's no longer in the count. He's not a threat to come in, so he should not be in the count. So what we have is on the left side of the center, we have 2 guys, and then we have 3 guys on defense that are over him. Since we know the punt's going left, the count is from outside in to who our threats are. All right. So first man on the end has the first threat on the outside. That's number 1. That's super easy. Next guy in, next to the center, should have the next guy over number 2. That should be easy. If there's a man third over, that's probably going to be the free man that runs into the wall. And that's okay. You're allowed to have a free man. We got 2 guys back there. That shouldn't be an issue. We don't expect our long snapper to be able to snap the ball, get his head up in time, and make a block. So he's focused on just snapping the ball and getting downfield. So we are going to have a free rusher in there. As soon as the ball is snapped, you see that basically who is in our left guard position jumps out to double team the number 1 threat on the outside for some unknown reason. I don't know why he did that. It's not at all how this is supposed to be designed. And it's one of the easiest counts in the world. It's not like they're shifting, motioning, doing anything, no stunts. They're just lined up ready to go. And we have 1, 2, 3. And all you got to do is say 1 is him, 2 is me. But instead he goes 1 is him, and also 1 is me. So I'm going to go ahead and jump out there. Well, that leaves 2 free rushers at the wall when there should only be 1. All right, so that's going to be the biggest issue of why this got blocked, because even though that's not the man that blocked it, our wall did what they were supposed to do by taking on the first 2 threats over the block point. The problem was, because they had to take an extra man that was the immediate threat, it opened up the backside for a free man to come in and get that block. On the backside, what we see is they've basically crowded 3 men over what's effectively our right guard. Our right guard position, we'll call it on this punt team, he did his job. He stepped over, took on the block for the most part. Didn't hold the block as long as he should have. It seemed like we're not putting an emphasis on protection. We're trying to put an emphasis on coverage. So a lot of guys aren't giving a full 2 count while they're holding onto their block. It should be a 1001, 1002 release and then go downfield. And it is a full engaged, you are driving through that person, not just catching them, not just letting them run by you and giving them a little push, which you'll see a couple guys do that. It should be a full engagement, 1001, 1002, then release and go downfield. So here you can see our right guard comes over. He kind of just olays the guy a little bit and, slows him down enough to where that guy's not making a play. So I guess we'll call it a good job. I grade that a C at best right there. The next issue is what would effectively be our right tackle, the second man over on the right side of the long snapper. He has 2 men inside of him that are the threat. He should have number 2 on that side from inside to out. Since the punt is going left, our count is going to be from inside out, whereas on the left side, it's going to be from outside in, looking at where the threat is. So he should have number 2, but he has to go across the face of one defender to get to number 2, which is fine if his stance is properly lined up and he takes a proper angle. So basically what he should do is when the ball is snapped, he actually has to give a little bit of ground in order to get his head across that number 1 guy to get, or effectively number 3 guy, to get to the number 2. If he does that, he's not going to get a solid block on the number 2, but he's going to get in the way of number 3. So number 3 is not going to be a free rusher, and number 2 is not going to be a free rusher, and they're not going to be solid blocks, but all you got to do is really get in their way. He doesn't do that. He takes head up, basically, the number 3 rusher, which leaves the number 2 rusher open. All right. And you'll see he's the one that actually blocks the punt. He's the one that, if he comes through free and our left guard blocks who he's supposed to, then we have 2-on-2 on the wall. The punt should not get blocked at that point either. All right. So the combination of those 2 things right there is what led to this punt being blocked. The poor count on the left guard position, and then not getting his head across to get to the number 2 threat by the right tackle position. You'll also see when the right tackle goes to block him, he barely engages. He doesn't even get his head across the number 3 guy. He touches his outside shoulder, turns his shoulders, so now there's a running lane, and then just basically lets him go. And that guy was still pretty close to getting in there as well, which is crazy, knowing that he had a man on him. So the emphasis needs to be on fully engaged, 1001, 1002, then release downfield. Make sure you have the right blocks in place. I know a lot of people were saying that, oh, our wall got completely blown up. That's why this happened. That's not why this happened. Our wall actually did what they're supposed to, especially the center guy. I don't know who that is, but you'll see we can kind of pause right before impact. He is engaging contact. He is exploding into that first threat right there. Now, the other guy, the left side of the wall wedge back there, you'll see his feet are kind of planted and he catches instead of engaging. That's not what you want to do. You want to drive into him, and your job is to stop them where they are, not just kind of turn them, because eventually that's going to be an issue as well. But that's not why this got blocked. That's just issues that we have kind of in general on this, on the punt team that I'm seeing. Better count. You can't miss that assignment. Better engagement, longer engagement, more physicality. The other thing, and this is kind of where the missed count should never happen is the communication. As soon as you go up to the line on punt team, you should be pointing at who you're blocking, because you're not trying to hide who you're blocking. It makes no difference if they know who you're going to block. So if our first guy out here on the left side is pointing to the number one threat saying, I got him, I got number whatever, the second guy, if he was thinking that that's his guy, he's going to look and be like, oh crap, that's not my guy. I miscounted. I got the next guy over. So go out, and you see this in O-line all the time. They're talking, they're communicating, they're pointing, they're making all these calls. The same thing should be happening on punt team. There needs to be communication. You're not trying to hide the fact of who you're blocking. Go out, man up, point at them, say, I'm blocking this guy right here. You're blocking that guy right there, and make it happen. The alignments with their feet, they're not making it easy on themselves by everyone being completely square. If you know all of your threats are inside, go ahead and open your stance up to the inside. Again, you're not trying to trick anyone. You're not trying to do anything fancy here. It makes no difference if they know what direction you're going. They already know what direction you're trying to punt the ball, right? Because the way you're aligned and the motion you're going into, they know everything about it. So again, the biggest thing here, the miscount is the reason it got blocked. The miscount is the main reason it got blocked. The second reason it got blocked is because our right tackle position did not come all the way through to the guy that was the main threat for him, the number 2 counting inside to out on the right side, which would have put him in the way of the number 3 position. Both of those guys get blocked. Therefore, there's only one free rusher going to our 2 wedge people. I do want to commend who would effectively be our right end. If we're counting it, it's the 3rd position to the right of the long snapper. If you watch what he does, he's in blocking position. All right. When the ball is snapped, he gets ready to block, realizes that his guy is not rushing. Therefore, he doesn't need to hold the count. He just goes straight downfield. So if you have your guy head up on you and you're, again, block first mentality, and as soon as they're not rushing, that's your cue to go. You go ahead, take off downfield, go make a play. So I do commend him for doing his job right there. He did exactly what he was supposed to. The other thing, if we have 6 guys lined up tight and we motion over, which effectively brings 7 guys lined up tight, actually, is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys on the line of scrimmage? There needs to be a check out of this. All right. And what I would do is we'd motion over. My up back makes an easy call, whatever it is. The receiver that's in motion motions back in to come to the end. He then takes the number 1, and everyone bumps down a threat to get that. And that number 1 position, he doesn't even have to get a full engagement on him. He just has to run through his shoulder and then continue down as the gunner. And that would alleviate that pressure right there. So it's a few different things that happened. One main thing that led to a couple other things as to why this got blocked.
So how much do you think not having a designated special teams coordinator impacts the kind of things that we're seeing like on Saturday?
I think it's huge. I think that you need someone that this is such a big part of the game. If you don't get this right, statistically, it's so hard to win the football game. If you give up blocked kicks, if you give up returns, if you're giving up those big plays on special teams, you're just fighting an uphill battle for your offense and potentially putting your defense in a bad position. So the emphasis has to come from the top down, but you need someone that is going to be on top of this like crazy, making sure the details are just pounded into these players' heads.
So that was something that Urban Meyer did incredibly well during your time at Florida. Talk about what the emphasis on special teams, the practice that went in for special teams. Urban was the best in the country at it at the time.
Oh, absolutely. One thing I loved about Urban is the punt team was the best team, right? So we got to eat first at everything. we got everything given to us. The number 1 punt team was phenomenal being on there. The other thing that Coach really emphasized is he put his stars on special teams. All right. So if you're a number 1 linebacker, you're still on kickoff coverage. You're still on punt coverage. It's not a play off. If you're a star and you're taking a play off, you're taking it off on offense or defense. You are not taking a special teams playoff because you're tired or anything. That was huge. So we knew that the guys out there, that they were the guys. It's not, hey, I'm typically second string, third string, whatever it is, and I'm coming out here just to get some play time. This is the main play for Urban Meyer, for the game in general, and the statistics that go behind, and that Meyer always taught us. He was, field position is huge, right? If you get a 40, 50 yard play on every punt, basically, that's where it's at. If you can get them inside the 20, statistically, it's significantly lower of them getting a touchdown than if they're on their own 40. So you got to make those plays. You got to have someone really emphasizing that, and that understands how important this is. This is not a playoff. This is a play that makes or breaks the game.
So clearly they're not hiring a special teams coach between now and Saturday, or, until the end of the season for sure. So what is something that they can do immediately to improve special teams play?
Slow down practice a little bit, or take a period away from offense or defense or conditioning or whatever it is, and add some more time to emphasize the special teams. All right. Go through it. Make sure it is perfect. All right. Perfect practice makes perfect games, not practice makes perfect. So make sure every time it is perfect in practice, no matter what, before you get to move on to that next thing. It's not just rushing through it to then go on to offense and defense.
All right, well, we will be editing this together, shipping it to Gainesville, hoping for some improvement before Saturday. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate all your support. If you want more play or game breakdowns, and you guys know this isn't my bread and butter, but the good news is I am married to somebody who could give me some insight here. Hit the comments. Happy to provide it if you guys are interested in it where I can. Go Gators. Have a great night.
Go Gators.